Hey guys, I just wanted to make a video here just on a topic that had been going around recently that I thought would be interesting for discussion. And most of you may already know about it. It was basically a video debate between Dr. Greg Douchette and Dr. Mike Israetel, basically regarding training intensity versus volume, and they had both had two different opinions on the matter, and basically it was a debate going back and forth between them. So I thought I'd kind of give a video talking here about my opinion on the discussion and some things that I've found work for me, and why I believe what I do. And so basically, for those that haven't seen the debate, they were basically talking about Dr. Greg Doucette's side of the debate was that people, most people aren't training hard enough, and that people just focus on just pushing harder and harder, and more stuff to failure, kind of just that all out approach. And then Dr. Mike Israetel was coming at it from an approach, based on more scientific research and promoting, leaving reps in reserve or reps in the tank, and then progressively going up, and then incorporating, failure maybe towards the end of mesocycle, and then properly deloading to manage fatigue and all those things. Um, so, so basically, what I have personally found to work, best for me and the even others that I have coached and worked with, is definitely more of an approach on the side from Mike Israetel. He's certainly put out a lot of good information that's backed up by science and research, which I think is really good. And I know from experience, especially like where I am right now in my training career. Example, I've been training for competing in strength sports for over 10 years now, and I've gotten to a more advanced, higher level where my body is being taxed much more than it was, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago or more when I was starting out. And I know for me now, the approach more along what Dr. Mike Israetel is talking about has been shown to work for me, not only more for results long term, but also avoiding injuries. And that's another big point I want to mention too is, um, if I were to train to failure, every week and really push, especially on large compound movements, competitive movements that not only tax the body but the central nervous system a lot, um, I would definitely be more vulnerable for injuries, and I had seen that in the past, um, and basically, now um, I focus on, in my cycle, my mesocycles. Basically, in the beginning, I do start out a lot how he describes. I leave reps in reserve, and I slowly add weight and volume even too towards the end of the block. And say, maybe every 6 to 8 weeks I'll have a deload, and then I'll ramp up again, and then maybe between the 12 and 16 week mark, leading into my peak or competition, I'll at the very end, maybe push something that's close to failure, or a lot of times even saving a little bit in the tank to then peak and then go all out at my competition, to failure. Well, that's where that matters. And definitely found a better result with that, and also I've stayed healthier. I have not been as beat up with muscle strains and other things. Never had a serious tear. I have had several strains in the past, but I think part of what's helped me is avoid anything serious like that too. Is also using this approach now over the last several years, and so I think especially on the main movements, there should be getting adequate work, volume, enforcing good technique. Um, Definitely not going to failure all the time, but working up close towards the end of the cycle and before deloads, maybe coming close, and then maybe from time to time you might go to failure and then deload right after. Um, and that's definitely been shown to have the best approach for me. Strength wise, and I think even muscle building wise too. Because in the long run, if you can sustain it longer, you'll be less likely to be injured. And for me, if I can stay at it longer and not be sidetracked by injuries, and maybe make more short-term progress in the short run by pushing things to failure more. But if I do that and I get hurt and backtrack in the long run, I won't get as far. So to me, I think more lines of what Dr. Mike Israetel was promoting is definitely a better long-term approach for most people. Certainly some people might be able to get away with doing more of what Greg Douchette is kind of promoting. Some people just have amazing genetics and durability. From what I've seen, for most people, the approach that I've used is definitely more sustainable, long term for long term progress. And so I do think there are ways to apply more things maybe into training to failure in your routine. I think it's best used more for supplementary movements. For example, more isolation movements, secondary movements, that aren't large compound movements like deadlift squats and those type of things. So, for example, rows or curls, movements like that. I do think you can take those to failure a little more often. Maybe even small movements like curls or extensions, those kind of things. If you have those in the program, even every 2 to 4 weeks, you can push those hard and to failure. Because those movements are not going to tax the central nervous system as much. The recovery will be easier. So in general, I think that's a better approach with those. But as far as the main movements and the main lifts go, I think avoiding failure most of the time is definitely the way to go. Not only for strength, but for maximal gains in the long term for both muscle size and strength. So yeah, I just thought this was a interesting discussion, and just thought I would kind of give my opinion on that and kind of why I believe it and how I think it applies best, to most people for their long term progress. So thanks for watching.